On your Wednesday episode of Locked On Raptors, run for your lives. It's the 3-point variance monster.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Wednesday, February the 26th, and I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can also find the show on Instagram, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, a great little listener community we got building around the show, where on any morning you can find yourself debating hotly who will be the backup center for next year's Toronto Raptors. Great way to spend the day as opposed to, doing work tasks. I highly recommend it. Come hang out. Link in the description of the podcast. Free to join. You can also subscribe for free to the daily Locked On Raptors newsletter. Link in the description of the podcast, or you can go to the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, that is. You go support. You get me 5 days a week writing original about your Toronto Raptors. You get Katie Heindel 4 times a week, League at Large pieces, and then Michael Shearer every Thursday. He was on the podcast last week. You know him. He's great. Every Thursday, basketball poetry with Mike. It's great. Go check it out over at the newsletter site. With that, let's get to it on today's show, talking about yet again a noble, ethical tank loss for your Toronto Raptors against the Boston Celtics, 111-101 on Tuesday night, in a game that was pretty darn fun. And the Raptors just keep on pulling it off, man. Making it interesting, making it entertaining, making it competitive, and yet still losing. They are turning ethical tanking into a fine art form. We'll see if that holds up over the final 20 or so games against the easiest schedule ever crafted by man. But right now, Raptors doing a pretty good job of keeping you pretty encouraged and excited and entertained while also losing as they did to the Boston Celtics last night. And why did the Raptors lose this game? We will get into some stuff from this one. We'll get into, rookie corner. There's some really nice stuff from Jamal Shead, Jonathan Mogbo, Quickley-Barnes-Walter, some little flourishes. Should we see more Jamison Battle? I think so, probably. We got the good, the bad, and the coming up. But let's start with why the Raptors lost this game, which was the 3-point variance monster rearing its ugly head. This was always bound to happen. The Raptors shot 20 of 35 from 3 on Sunday against Phoenix. It's ridiculous. It's the best they've shot from 3 all season long. They finished the game, what was it, like 6 consecutive threes they buried on Phoenix's heads? That was rad. And of course, the next game out, they go 5 of 32 against the Celtics, the team designed to win contests of 3-point variance. The Celtics didn't even shoot that well in this one. They were only 28% from 3, but the Raptors go 5 of 32. And it is, as they say, a make or miss league, Doug. What are you going to do? After the game, Darko Rajakovic, made a point of what if we had just taken 4 of those makes from Sunday and diverted into this game? We win. Not a bad point. You can't predict when the variance monster is going to hit you. It's just going to hit you, and it's going to knock you on your ass. He also talked about how the looks they got were very good, and I full-heartedly agree with this. The Raptors' process in this game, I thought, was pretty sound. And I think they did a lot of stuff to put themselves in positions to turn their possessions into points. You just get a 1 of 16 combined effort from 3 from Scottie Barnes, Barrett and Immanuel Quickley, and you're just not going to win those games very often, especially against the Boston freaking Celtics. And again, if you go through and look at the process behind each of their looks and each of their individual games, I have very little issue with how the Raptors' big 3 approach this one. I think between them, I counted maybe 1 3 of the bunch that I would classify as like a quote unquote bad look. It was the Immanuel Quickley. He had like one over kind of on the wing. It was heavily contested. He was sort of off balance and he really missed it by a mile. I think it bounced off the top of the backboard and ended up turning into an offensive rebound into 3 for the Raptors somewhere else. But it wasn't a great look. But other than that, all the Raptors looks from 3, especially from those 3 guys, really came within the flow. Scottie Barnes was not forcing early clock pull-ups in this game. It was a lot of getting it on the catch and just letting it rip within the rhythm, and it didn't go down. Again, make or miss league. It is what it is. I thought Immanuel Quickley, he takes 6 threes in this game. He misses every single one of them. What are you going to do about that? This is a guy who's been one of the best shooters in basketball this season for the last couple seasons, shooting 45% on his pull-up threes coming into the game. and they didn't go down in this one. That's going to happen sometimes. That's 3-point variance for you. I thought in general, this was a pretty solid game from Quickley kind of running the ship for the Raptors. It's a tough call getting Derek White as your defensive cover, right? Like having to deal with Derek White is not easy. He's nasty. He's like one of the best guard defenders in all of basketball. It's probably him and like Jalen Suggs, if you were to, whittle it down. Like that's probably the short list of the best guard defenders in the NBA right now. And it just like I thought Quickley overall still got to his spots. He got good looks. He shot 4 of 7 from 2 in this game, which was nice to see after he had a couple of rough games shooting from 2 over the weekend against Miami and Phoenix. It was nice to see him bounce back there. The floater game was going, got to the rim a couple times, finished in transition in traffic, which is the thing he struggled with over the weekend as well. So nice bounce back from 2-point range from Quickley. And I thought the playmaking in this one, he had 8 assists, and I counted at least 3, probably more that I didn't count, totally duffed a potential assist that should have been there for Quickley. A lot of guys owing Quickley a meal right now. There was one where Quickley finds Ochai Agbaji with like a beautiful transition lob, and Agbaji, like, it's a play he's finished 100 times, just duffs the layup, and what are you going to do? Yet another one where Quickley drives in and has this like beautiful, like eyes on the back of his head kick to the corner for Grady Dick to set up one of the most open threes Grady Dick is ever going to take, and he smokes it. Like, what are you going to do? I thought it was a pretty good game from Quickley, in terms of getting into the teeth of the defense, spraying out from there, getting paint touches and turning it into something. There were some really creative playmaking, moments in this game for him as well, where he kind of got an advantage, then passed a guy further open. I thought it was overall a pretty solid game from him. If he goes 2 of 6 from downtown in this game, he's at 16, 6, and 8. And you're looking at, a pretty solid game overall from Immanuel Quickley. He goes 0 of 6. It's going to happen. He's not going to go 0 of 6 very often. If you look at his history, he's one of the best 3-point shooters going anywhere. I thought RJ Barrett as well, really good in this one overall. 9 of 11 from 2-point range. The Raptors in general were lights out from 2-point range in this game. 37 of 50 on their twos. You'll love to see that. I think from RJ's perspective, again, it kind of comes down to him going 1 of 5 from downtown, which is of these guys, he's, obviously Scottie's not a great 3-point shooter. We know this, but like Barrett's been prone to sort of nights of going 3 of 4 and then also 1 of 6 or 1 of 5. Like you'll kind of have hot and cold nights. That's 3-point shooting for you. He's always shot ready. He's never passing stuff down. I have no issues with the process from RJ Barrett in this game. Again, he cooked from 2-point range. That's great to see. Again, they're not always going to fall all the time. If he goes 2 of 5 instead of 1 of 5, it's a different story for RJ Barrett as well in this one. I thought overall, really nice game from him. Again, the process for all of this was pretty good. The Raptors half-court offense in this game outscored the Celtics half-court offense by kind of a lot. The Raptors in this game in the half-court had 108.4 offensive rating in half-court situations. That's like very good for their standards, well above average across the league for the season. The Celtics half-court offense in this game, 96.6 points per 100. Not very good. Bottom half of the league over the course of the entire season of all the games played. They were really good converting their second chances. They got a lot of really easy putbacks off their 12 offensive rebounds. That was kind of the difference here. And obviously the 3-point math game, they hit 13 threes to the Raptors 5. But process-wise, again, this was a game I think you can feel really good about if you're a Raptors fan, hoping to kind of see those little incremental bits of progress in terms of how they're playing and how they're sort of gelling as a unit. Scottie Barnes, too. I mean, there was a lot of really good Scottie stuff in this game. He was shot out of a cannon in the first half, second quarter in particular, just like sizing up Neemias Queta and saying, I'm going to score through you now, and did it a bunch, really just like this barreling truck of a man getting into the paint. He was 7 of 9 on his twos. Yeah, he goes 0 of 5 from downtown. Again, didn't have an issue with the sort of process going into any of those threes. It was not a bad game by Scottie Barnes by any means. He goes for 7 of 14 from the field, 21 points. Those threes, you got to live with them. Like you need the volume from all these guys, and if they're not going to go at a sort of unseasonably cold rate, what are you going to do? Again, lots of good stuff in this one. Scottie, like kind of feeling the force that he just has, kind of, making people feel him. That was great. Again, feasting from 2-point range, you could do a lot worse. It's just, against the Celtics, it's tough that they're going to get up a million threes, even if they don't hit a lot of threes. Again, they shot like 28.6% in this game. They just get up more of them, and, they're going to win the math that way. And the Raptors just, again, like even just like an average 3-point shooting night from them. And this is probably a win. It was overall, I think, a pretty well played game. Really great fight. They never really let the Celtics pull away. Every time it felt like the Celtics were pulling away, the Raptors pulled them back within arm's length. As noble a tank loss as you're going to have. One of them good losses, baby. We're going to come back on the other side. Another good element of this loss, the rookies. Some fun stuff from the rookies. Jamal Shead, crunch time. Man, oh man, do I love myself some Jamal Shead. We'll talk about the rookies and their contributions in this one coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. The privileges for the very privileged are no longer exclusive with Robinhood Gold. You can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on your annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average saving account interest claim is based on the data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Back at it here on your Wednesday edition of Locked On Raptors, talking Raptors Celtics. Again, a super fun one to be at. Always nice to give the Celtics a pretty good game. Look, the Celtics are inevitable. It's exhausting. I hate it, but some noble stuff, some good stuff going on for the Raptors in this one. Let's talk about the rookies, shall we? The rookies were a lot of fun in this one. In particular, Jamal Shead was the most fun rookie. Let's get into it, shall we? He is just an MFer, man. He got some crunch time running this game. That was very cool to see Darko Rajakovic trust him in the fourth quarter of this one. The burst he has getting downhill, like he was just kind of cooking Celtics off the bounce left and right in this game. He only gets 6 points, but I felt like every single one of his buckets was the result of him just being faster than a guy on the first step. The floater game, we know, is a lot of fun. It's a great little shot that he has in his repertoire. He can get to the rim. He can hunt fouls. That downhill sort of get to the rim stuff with him, not a concern at all. He didn't hit his threes in this game, and the threes continue to be the thing that are going to make or break Jamal Shead as like a viable long-term playoff-ready player. Still a ways away from that. And, he still probably projects out to be just like a very good backup, although the first step is something to kind of dream on if you want to, envision more for him. He's just a lot of fun. And it was cool to see him, again, get those like high leverage minutes against a very good team in this one. I can't complain about Jamal Shead. And the defense with him, I mean, he's still so foul prone. He fouls just so much. Can't control it. Once he reins that in, though, you're seeing now all that made him the defensive player of the year in college last year, kind of there, right? The foot speed, the way he slides with guys and just like keeps glued to his man, makes it so hard to get any kind of space to get around him. He's just that nasty at the point of attack. And as the whistle gets more favorable, as he kind of gains a rep as this kind of guy, we see this right over time. The whistle adapts. Referees understand, oh, this guy's a maniac. We have to call him a little bit differently. Otherwise, we're calling a foul on every single thing. This is what we call Oklahoma City Thunder syndrome, where like everyone on the Thunder fouls all the time, but all of their reputations are at the point where they kind of get away with it. I think Jamal Shead has the defensive chops to get there at some point as well, as far as his like reputation goes with officials. And you can see he's being emboldened to play like a maniac. Like there is not really any concern, it seems, about the overzealousness with the fouling from him, right? Darko Rajakovic is encouraging him and talking him along even after he picks up fouls. There was a moment last night, he's picking up Peyton Pritchard full court and is just like totally locking him up. Eventually he fouls him near the halfway line. And you can see Scottie Barnes come up and just like egg him on, encouraging him, yeah, defend like that, dude. Eventually the whistle's going to be there or not be there, and it's going to go uncalled. And you're just going to get to kind of live in having this reputation as this kind of point of attack defender. It's going to take some time, but like he's got the chops. We saw it in college. He was, again, the defensive player of the year in college as a 6-foot guard. Bonkers stuff. That's like outlier stuff. That's the stuff that makes you believe it can work in the NBA. And when you factor in the offense, he had 6 assists in this game. He's so good on drive and kicks. I think is the way he reads the floor on drives and kicks. Like he just serves dudes right in the shooting pocket. Had one last night with Ochai Agbaji where he kind of Shed drove in from the left wing, gets to the paint, kicks it to Agbaji on the far side. And Agbaji just like, it's just like exactly where you need the ball to be if you're a shooter. And like that's a sort of unspoken skill with point guards, but serving guys up right in the pocket so their natural motion can kind of, take hold as easily as possible. That's a real skill. It's a real skill that Jamal Shead has. He's a very high level passer. I'm so Shed pilled, man. It's crazy. He's awesome. And the burst downhill, all that stuff, the first step. There's a lot to like here with Jamal Shead, and I'm glad he's getting this extra run and getting these moments where he kind of gets to show out and play in close games late. We should also talk about Jonathan Mogbo, who, a little quieter in this game, just 4 points from him, 4 boards, 2 assists. But like the defensive flashes from him continue to be like extremely interesting. I'll talk a little bit more about those coming up, in particular with how he guarded Jaylen Brown in this game. But you're also seeing, the stuff on offense. Look, it's still going to be a ways for him, right? He missed his 2 threes in this game. He's at about 33% on the season on 1 attempt a game. It's not like he's, flashing all this sort of no doubt knockdown shooter upside, though. Considering he didn't take any threes at all in college, and he's at the point now where he's successfully knocking in 1 out of every 3 he takes. Baby steps, man. This is player development. It's a long haul. It takes time. And I like the foundation they're laying down for Jonathan Mogbo right now. And then offensively, I know like he's been a struggle bus a little bit at times, kind of getting the ball in the interior, not looking at the rim, but he's dunking a lot more lately. He's kind of dunking everything. That vertical threat is coming into focus, finishing in transition. We had a couple dunks last night where earlier in the year, those are like little crappy floaters that he puts up and don't go in, or he just like can't get the burst off the ground because he hasn't figured out the timing of things and the sort of the speed at which defenders are coming at him. He's picked up, it seems, the speed of the NBA, where and how he can kind of use his burst to get up. And yeah, like again, the bar for Jonathan Mogbo offensively is not going to be very high because the defense is that impressive. He is one of the more interesting defensive prospects in all of basketball, I think. Just with his ability to switch, his ability to disrupt. He had a couple steals last night that were bonkers. Like, he's awesome. I'm like really enjoying the sort of baby steps development here for Mogbo. The offense is a ways away. It's going to require him to dunk a whole lot more and figure out some other ways to affect the game offensively. I think there's still untapped potential for him as like a short roll weapon because he is a very good passer. He's a very willing passer, a nice connector. There's some stuff going on there. It's going to take a while to flesh it all out, but thought Mogbo was pretty interesting in this one too. And then Jacoby Walter, pretty quiet, just 6 points, 3 of 8. But I thought I had a couple nice little flourishes and a couple more examples of just how calm and cool and collected he is as an offensive player. Just he goes at his own pace. He's not worried at all about what's going on around him. He's just like, all right, I'm going to drive it, and then I'm going to head fake, and then I'm going to slow down, and then I'm going to delay, and then I'm going to score over this guy who's totally out of position. Like it's a really cool gift he seems to have of just like always knowing that he has the cards because he's the guy with the ball in the hands, right? Like he knows what's going on. He knows his intent, and he's able to use head fakes and pumps and all this little craft stuff that usually is the stuff you see from guys way longer into their careers than a guy who just turned 20. I think that stuff's going to refine itself and become such a weapon for him down the line, especially as just like the shots start to fall a little bit more. Couple of missed threes last night that really felt like, man, if those go in, that's like, those are huge swing threes. This is rookie life, man. You figure things out. You have flashes, and you hope you can turn those flashes into more sustained success down the line. And his ability to just kind of not be worried about what's going on around him and his ability to kind of dupe defenders into getting themselves out of position. Really cool stuff for a rookie. I'm in on Walter. The one rookie thing we should talk about here that we haven't really seen is a lot of Jamison Battle. And look, I like Jamison Battle. I don't think Jamison Battle to me is like as clearly in the long-term picture plans of this team as much as like a Shed or a Walter are, or even a Mogbo. But like he's obviously a very good three-point shooter. In a game like last night, where they were just screaming for anyone to make a three, I would have liked to have seen a little bit of Jamison Battle. We talked a little bit about Chris Boucher. He only plays 14 minutes in this game, does Boucher. So it's not like he was, eating up tons and tons of minutes, but getting some Battle in there in place of Boucher, especially when you're not really worried about all that much about winning and you are trying to develop these guys along. I wouldn't mind seeing some more Battle here. I'm sure we will down the stretch. This is not, there's 24 games left. There's still going to be plenty of time for him to get on the floor. But in a game like that in particular, where a couple times they got zoned up and we're having trouble with that, having Battle in there just to kind of let it rip and see if he can kind of, rip some chords for you, I think would have been nice. A nice little addition to this game. So not a full complement of rookies in this one. Would be nice to see a little more Battle. But overall, I think a pretty good one for the Raptors. Like you lose to the Celtics, but you do it in a game where variance really kills you and all your rookies kind of have little flashes at the very least of good things going on. We're enjoying the losses right now, man. We really are. We're going to come back on the other side, run through the good, the bad, and the to round out the show, including Scottie and Immanuel Quickley and their pick and roll chemistry. It's not quite there yet. Can it come along? We'll get into that in a sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. All kinds of ways you can take advantage of this deal. My favorite way to order food, it's usually, maybe I've had a couple of drinks the night before. Maybe I went to a game. Maybe let me set the scene for you. I just punched my mic. Let's just set the scene. You go to a game. You have a couple of drinks. Maybe you're not feeling so hot the next day. You wake up a little late. It's noon. A guy in that game you watched scored 50 points. And you go, hey, maybe I can get myself a little deal here on a bowl of ramen. You can order yourself some ramen, the best hangover cure in the entire world. Dash Pass can help you do that. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash.com to learn more. And tip your drivers, would you? All right, wrapping things up here with the good, the bad, and the the way we round out every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, a thing I didn't like, and a thing that's got me a little bit intrigued about what's gone on in the latest dose of Raptors hoops. Let's get to the good. Back to the Jonathan Mogbo defensive stuff. We talked about his offense a little bit there, but the defensive flashes from this guy, man, they're nuts. He has this rotational steal in the second half of this game where kind of, again, like that eyes at the back of the head, Kawhi Leonard sort of like not looking at it, not looking and getting a steal from Jimmy Butler type stuff, just like knowing where the play is heading and rotating that way and just kind of intersecting with the ball just as a matter of really good positioning. Had one of those in this game. He had a couple of really great stands on Jaylen Brown. Awesome hands, great feet, knocking it loose, great contests. And a couple times even where Jaylen Brown got Mogbo on a switch. And the second it happened, he maybe tries like one dribble move, gets nowhere, and is like, I don't want any of this smoke. We're reversing the play. Get it back over to the other side, away from this monster. I keep on saying it, right? And maybe I'm too Mogbo pilled. It's very possible. He's a guy I've liked since the Raptors drafted him. I really dove more into what his game is all about. But the defensive stuff from him is so real. It's so good. I think the ways you can deploy him, especially now that the team, with Brandon Ingram and who knows who they draft this summer, but there's a little more length to these lineups they can throw out there. They can kind of elongate their groups. I think Mogbo is like this demon of switching and disruptive deflections and steals and hawking passing lanes. There's a lot there to like with Jonathan Mogbo defensively. And a lot of that was, shown against Jaylen Brown in particular. Not a bad guy to be showing it off against. He was guarding him a ton in this game and did a really good job. The bad for me, I touched on this a little bit yesterday, and I will be writing about this for the newsletter today. And it's the Immanuel Quickley, Scottie Barnes chemistry and timing in the straight pick and roll where Scottie is screening for IQ, the base version of that. I do think they're figuring things out with Quickley screening for Scottie, or just kind of using the two of them in like staggered screen actions on the wings and things like that to really weaponize what both of them do well. Like they're coming along chemistry wise on the whole, I think quite well. There was even last night, like the beautiful, like high-low feed IQ had to Scottie. Like I think they're on the same page. I just think they're still tinkering and figuring out the timing with their pick and roll in particular. There were like two examples in this game where Scottie sets the screen for IQ, rolls quickly. There's kind of a window there to get that pass in, and quickly just misses the window. Doesn't quite have the timing down. He kind of gets, obstructed by some length. the Celtics love to switch, right? So there were a couple times where like Sam Hauser, who's like a big guy, gets switched on to Quickley, and Quickley just can't make that pass over the top to Scottie where he's waiting as a target. There's another, again, that's going to happen. I think it really is just a matter of kind of finding that window a little quicker, because there is that little tiny like split second of space where if Quickley throws that pass, Scottie's getting on the roll and it's like an easy bucket. That's going to come. There was also an example of one where Scottie screens for IQ. It's kind of like they both take a while to figure out, okay, is he rolling? Is he popping? Which way is Quickley going? And Quickley goes left in this situation towards the sideline. And then Scottie kind of rolls like into his line as well. It was a very strange sort of, it was one of the weirder rolls I've ever seen from a roller, frankly. And it just kind of spoke again to them just figuring out their timing, their pace, their where they like the ball, things like that, and pick and roll. It's going to come. I asked Darko Rajakovic about this after the game, and he said, like, all I want is them to keep on running it more and more and more. These are the opportunities that they have to just kind of find that chemistry after not playing together much this year. Thought it was a great answer from Darko. But yeah, it's clear the timing's just not right just yet. Doesn't mean it won't get there. Doesn't mean they haven't figured some stuff out in other facets of the game, but it'd be very cool if Quickley and Scottie, two of the most important guys in this team, could figure out their chemistry and their harmony in that very, very base and important action, just standard pick and roll. For me to close things out, also tied in with IQ and Scottie, is little flashes of Quickley, Scottie, and Jacoby Walter as a trio. And overall, the numbers aren't great. Small sample, but they're getting outscored over like 250 possessions by 2.4 points per 100. And like this has come during a stretch where they've gotten like waxed by the Grizzlies and the Cavs, and they played the Thunder. Like they've had a tough schedule here. So like the numbers that of the last 8 games or so, especially without Jakob Poeltl, are all very sort of noisy. So eye test, I think, is where you got to look at in this situation. And I do think those 3 guys together, process-wise, I really like how things look. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of movement with Walter. He's always kind of moving. He's got a nose for the ball. He's got a nose for when to cut, all that stuff. And obviously, like shooting plus Scottie Barnes has always been a thing that works. Walter's not shooting, accurately at the moment, but I think he's going to get there at some point. He's been much better after his first, 7-8 games. He's, mid-30s from 3. And so, yeah, I like those 3 guys together. There's just something cooking there. You throw some length in between them. You throw, a Mogbo out there. You throw Brandon Ingram eventually out there, and Jakob Poeltl, stuff like that. Like those 3 guys, I think, have a nice little connection. There was a stretch in this game, I think in the second quarter, where the Raptors looked awesome with a lineup of Quickley, Walter, Barnes, Boucher, and Mogbo, if I'm not mistaken. Just like tons of length, plus those 2 sort of slithery guard types. Pretty fun stuff. I'm again keeping an eye. It's we'll see if they can kind of turn this into more of a thing, more of a trio they lean on. But Quickley, Walter, Barnes, my eyebrows are raised. I liked how those 3 guys look together in this one. We're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. As always, we'll be back again tomorrow to talk about Raptors Pacers. They're back at it. That's going to be tons of fun. And, our old boy Pascal Siakam, second night of the back-to-back for the Raptors. Can they ethically lose once again? Probably. They're very good at it. And so we will get to you and talk to you about that game tomorrow. We're going to do some draft stuff on Friday as well. Lots to come. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Please follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, all that good stuff. It's always very much appreciated. You can go to the newsletter as well. QR code on the screen. Again, I'm going to write about that Quickley, Scottie pick and roll stuff a little bit later on. Some more numbers, some more little examples of plays from last night's game that didn't quite work out for them, stuff that is working, all that stuff. So yeah, thanks for rocking with everything we do over here at Locked On Raptors headquarters. And we will talk to you again on Wednesday with another episode of Locked On Raptors. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. It's been a while since I hit this shot. I got to do it. Here we go.